SCCA's National Championship Runoffs has long been a launching pad to professional careers for some, an annual pilgrimage for many, and a bucket list event just to compete in for all. This weekend, it is also a test extraordinaire, as for the contenders, Sonoma Raceway awaits. The Sports Car Club of America's Runoffs, incredibly steeped in history. Of course, the Sports Car Club of America formed way back in the 1950s. It has gone through various changes, but one thing has remained unchanged. When you win a national championship in the Sports Car Club of America, you have achieved something very rare and special. And today, the drivers face the additional challenge of doing it at Sonoma Raceway in California's wine country. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer. Great to have you with us as we are going today for one of the most storied classes in SCCA in the National Championship. It is F Production. I'm joined, of course, by Andy Hollis, and we're going to have Hayward Wagner down in the pits covering all the action for us. You get a nice shot of that grid. And, Andy, this is a class that started way back in 1954. It's got a great history to it, but it's gone through some evolutions.
It sure has. F Production started off small bore sports cars built to race car specs, highly modified engines. It's basically what the club was built on back in its earliest days. Cars, though, now from multiple decades in this field. We've now brought in cars like the Mazda Miata, the Honda CRX to join those old vintage cars, if you will, the MG Midget, the Austin Healey Sprite, and the Lotus Super 7. Add in the odd Volvo P1800 and BMW 3 Series, and you've got what our F Production field looks like right now.
Absolutely. And in 1954, it all started off when Art Bunker in a Porsche 356 won the initial championship. And today it's got a little different look to it, but the competition is always absolutely fierce in the production classes, and it's a group that very much like some of the other classes that we've experienced already this weekend, where it's a real fraternity.
It really is. But the real question here is whether anybody can beat Joe Huffaker and his MG Midget. 9 previous titles. He's 5th on the all-time list, 7 in this class. He's got his shop right here at the track. He's lowered the track record every he went in the conference this year. Can anybody beat him?
Well, of course, like I said, it's a fraternity. Everybody likes everybody, but when that green flag drops, you want to whoop them as bad as you possibly can. And the question is, as you said, can anybody touch Huffaker? What are the stories that are emerging from the pre-grid, Hayward?
Guys, there's a very serious pre-grid down here. We were talking about the number of wins for Joe Huffaker. One more, and this becomes the winningest production car in the history of SCCA runoffs. How important is that to Huffaker? His parents are here today to be here for this potential experience for him. I want to show you a couple of things on these cars real quick. First of all, Joe's car comes about to my knee. This is a very small car. It cuts a very small hole in the air, and they've done a lot of work to make sure they smooth out as much as they possibly can to make this car as slippery as possible. In contrast, if we take a look at the Super 7 that Brian Lynn is driving, you have these front fenders right here that hang air. You have the front tires that hang air. But if you look at Joe's car, the line all the way down it, nice and smooth. There's just a little bit of flare here at the rear wheel. If you look at the back of Lynn's car, you've got the rear fenders sticking out from the side of the car. And what that creates is as air flows down the car, it's hitting right into this, creating more drag for the Lotus. That means for the Lotus, having someone to draft with, being able to be behind Huffaker, being able to let him punch the hole in the air, allows the Lotus to close up. When they flip and Joe is chasing Lynn, now if Joe has a position to pull out and be very slippery and make that pass.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch that all unfold. And when Hayward was talking about this will be the winningest car, he's not talking about the make or model. He's talking about that car. And that is one of the reasons. That is his dad, Joe Huffaker Sr., an absolute legend at SCCA and professional racing competition. His wife, Jean, is there, too. The parents, they would very much like to see Joe get this win. Obviously, as you said, it would promote him up into a tie for all-time wins for, I think, third on the list. With David Daugherty, so pretty impressive there, and it would be a remarkable story as well for that chassis. And believe me, when you looked at that Huffaker Engineering machine, that MG Midget, you were probably saying, wow, does that thing look absolutely smooth and polished. Huffaker Engineering built cars are primo.
They really are, although I have to tell you that Joe has had a run of bad luck since 2014. In this class, for that car, he has not actually seen a checkered flag since 2014 at the runoffs. String of bad luck. a number of different things. And in fact, he ran this car at another race. He ran it in GTL earlier this race weekend and pulled off after only one lap. They found an axle that was broken, perhaps from some earlier contact earlier in the week during a practice session. That is fixed now, so perhaps he has gotten that run of bad luck out of his way this time.
Absolutely, and it's going to be interesting, too, because a lot of people thought that obviously Joe was going to be the favorite, knows this track so well, that car has got great speed, but they were thinking later in the race, the people that were running the Lotus Super 7 might have a real advantage because it's so light, it's so nimble, so easy on its tires. Craig Kima has been running one for a very long time and has had a tremendous run of success, but Brian Lynn, who normally runs one of the British Roadsters like Huffaker's running, decided to switch to the Super 7 as well. So it's going to be fun to watch as this race unfolds here as we look for a national champion for 2018 in F Production. Stay with us. Oh, for sure.
Campbell Brothers Miata. He is also predicted by Sports Car Magazine to end up on the podium. I'm sure Mr. Bradfield and Mr. Kiva and Mr. Lynn will have something to say about that. Never doubt a Kramer Miata. All right, so we will see. And we know we've seen Charlie's Miata run very, very strong in the Memphis last year. We saw it very strong at Daytona just a few years ago as well. So you're right, we should not doubt that. Very well. Otherwise, it's going to be a British and Swedish 1, 2, 3 for
The old and the new in the same shot, and the old is very fast, but that new up front is that beautiful 1,000 horsepower Trans Am 455 Super Duty, the official pace car of the Runoffs for 2018. A beautiful machine leading a group of historically beautiful machines around as we get ready for this one to unfold. A couple of interesting points here. Mark Hotchkiss and the Porsche 914-4 has the track record here, but it's a 1 minute 50.143. He set it in 2004. They qualified 3 seconds underneath it, so that should fall relatively quickly. We're also going to get a new champion here in the sense that nobody here to defend. Eric Prill taking a year off, who won it last year in his Miata. So this is going to be a fun one. A lot on the line.
It sure is. I'm also watching very carefully the tire story here. A lot of really interesting things. Most of the drivers here running on the Hoosier brand, who puts up a lot of contingency program. Joe Huffaker, in fact, that's normally the brand that he runs on. He helped develop a tire specifically for his car with Hoosier. Opting, though, at the very last minute to go with a Goodyear tire. He thinks that it's going to last better for him, though it does take a little bit longer to come in. So initially, he may be at a disadvantage, but a few more laps in, he expects that tire will come in and will last him longer, deeper into the race. So we'll be watching that. Bradfield also on that same Goodyear, but they're the only two.
Be fun to watch, and we are getting ready to go here. And you see Huffaker and Lynn in the front row, Craig Kima and Bradfield, you talked about in the 36 in row 2, Charlie Campbell and Ennis Sisley sitting in row 3, and we are ready to go. Watch for that green flag to fly. You'll know the engine notes come up, and what an attack move by Craig Kima from the second row, ducked down and underneath, but it was covered well, and we've got a big loop, and just barely touched the wall. Got away with one. If he can get it in gear, he ought to be able to drive off as we have a look there at the 89 of Charlie Campbell. But Huffaker into the lead, but it's Bob Bradfield in that beautiful 1962 Volvo P1800 from Ackerman's Volvo service that sits in second. Kima has to settle back into third, but Brian Lynn has faded.
Yeah, don't know what's going on with Lynn's car there.
Kima, big wiggle. Did you see that?
I did see that. He went way wide on that initial turn there, down into 4, believe. Probably tires just not up to temperature yet, most likely. But the Volvo making a move on it. That little bit heavier car, Bob Bradfield there in the Volvo P1800. Not a car you normally see too often at these events. Really on Huffaker's case here right now. And as we said, Huffaker is probably going to be a little slower for these first few laps. So let's see how it develops.
Oh, look at this big move now. Resurgent is the 37 of Lynn as he works around the outside of Kima. Those Lotus Super 7s, look for them to just get stronger as the race unfolds. I think one of the stories for Bradfield, that Volvo, as you said, it's heavier than Huffaker's car. It'll get temp in those tires as a result a bit quicker. Will it stay there? That's the issue.
Exactly. Or will it climb too high, and will he have issues later on with the tires getting too hot?
Look at this. Charlie Campbell working on Kima right now. Kima in that red Lotus Super 7, carrying the number 7, which just somehow seems right.
Sure does.
And tell you what, Kima's got 2 gold medals. The most recent one was in 2002 at Mid-Ohio in E-Production. His previous one, how about 1994?
Wow, that's a long break there.
Long time ago in this class in F-Production. So we'll watch to see what he can do. But this is fascinating right now, watching Bob Bradfield staying right with Huffaker.
No doubt. A note there on Brian Lynn's car. That's actually not his car. That car is owned by Steve Hussey, who tangled with that car with Joe Huffaker at Mid-Ohio's runoffs here a few years ago, and they had to rebuild the entire rear end. That was one of those DNFs that Joe had along his string there. So Hussey sticking Mr. Lynn in the car for this race, perhaps for a little revenge or a little friendly rivalry, perhaps.
Probably more of that, absolutely. Not sure which of the Honda CRX had that off in the early going, whether it was Ian Green or Ben Martinez, but there was a piece of debris right in the middle of the track that everybody's just having to avoid right as they turn up the hill into turn number 1. I'm impressed that Bradfield is staying fairly close with Huffaker. That also, the fact that they've been able to open that margin up, a pretty significant one over Lynn and Kima, respectively.
Yeah, no doubt. They're pulling away there, and I suspect for different reasons. As we mentioned earlier, I'm thinking that the Volvo just has got its tires up to temperature. Huffaker is waiting for his tires to come up to temperature, but 2 of them making really good pace here relative to everybody else.
And don't count out Charlie Campbell, qualified 5th. That's where he runs right now. And he's the guy that he was the champion in the Hoosier Super Tour in the F-Production class. That's a major accomplishment in and of itself to be able to go out and win that points title, which is the Super Tour is some of the top ranked majors in the country, and they create a championship out of it. He also was the champ in the Northeastern Conference, and what that means, Majors Conference, he's super sweep eligible. If he can win today, he wins the most difficult award you could possibly win in SCCA club racing. Look how close Brian Lynn runs the exit of turn 11 right to that wall. He is using up every piece of racetrack right now, trying to close it up a little bit on Bradfield and Huffaker.
One thing I'm noticing here, I'm looking at the lap time showing up here, and Huffaker is running easily 2 seconds slower still than his qualifying times. So that definitely plays into the concept there. Tires not quite up to temperature. Bradfield, about 3/10 slower for him, but that's a lot closer to his qualifying times. In fact, that is 3/10 under his qualifying time for Bradfield. So he's running qualifying pace, Huffaker 2 seconds off. And and we expect that to change.
And even so, that 149.3 by Huffaker is the new track record. Great battle here between the 08 of Bill Hingston as he sits in the 6th spot in his JPM Hoosier V8 Roadsters Mazda Miata, but he is under huge attack from Innes Isley in the Leadfoot Motorsports BMW 318IS. They are having a great scrap right now for that 6th spot. And I got to say it, Innes Isley, what a great racer's name.
Benny Gray Poupon. So one example here, or one thing about these two cars, as our Miata driver goes wide, these are examples of what we call limited prep. The newer cars have the option to run limited prep. These are less modified motors, a lot more affordable to run these cars. They're less high strung. The maintenance on them is a lot easier. They don't tend to pop motors as often, but they run a little bit heavier. And the competition rules have been adjusted to establish parity between those as well as the older full prep cars like Huffaker's.
And you have to have the class evolve. There's no question about that. So you adjust as time moves on. But the purist will always say, nah, it's got to be an old roadster. That's what production is all about. And here's a classic example of those Lotus Super 7s, obviously, but then you've got Charlie Campbell in that Mazda, and that's 3rd, 4th, and 5th right now. And Lynn got back around Kima, but by no stretch has he been able to shake him as he is really putting the pressure on. And you know, these two guys, Lynn and Kima, Lynn 19 starts in the runoffs, Kima 16. And Kima at one point strung together, and it's in the media guide as well up the record books, not the all-time record, but 4 straight poles from 93 to 96 in F production.
That's really impressive. I have to say, though, with Lynn not owning this car, he has much less seat time here.
Agreed, yeah.
Even though he is from California, gets up here quite a bit. Kima being from Akron, Ohio. But as far as seat time in the car, and that is really important, you have to give the nod to Kima on that one as he digs his way a little bit closer and closer to Mr. Lynn.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll note that also the Super 7 that Lynn is driving, as you watch it here, that is a left-hand drive version of it, and Kima is in the right-hand drive version.
Good observation there. Did not notice that earlier. Hot on their heels, though, Charlie Campbell, the quickest of the Miatas right now. Saw him get a little bit wide up there in 7. But if he can get that car under control and a little smoother, he is going to catch these guys.
And Campbell just sitting and watching at this stage.
Kima's lap time's a little bit faster than Lynn's right now.
And if these guys really get into a side-by-side battle and start getting each other offline a little bit, as Kima down to the inside, deep on the brakes, and makes that work. And I think Lynn realized if I try and fight him, what's going to happen there is it's just going to bring Campbell right onto our rear bumper. So he said, I'll try and let him go and just see if we can run away again. But Campbell, even so, was able to close it up a little bit. So the battle is on. Huffaker leads it right now, but Bradfield in the Volvo keeping it close. Then a few seconds back, Kima, Lynn, and Campbell under a great scrap for the final medal position. Joe Huffaker and the Huffaker Engineering G-Lock Brakes MG Midget leads in the run to the gold in F production here at Sonoma Raceway in the 55th running of SCCA's National Championship Runoffs. Our coverage presented by Mazda. And Huffaker now is he's got that margin, and it's opened up a little bit, but not as big as the qualifying times perhaps, might have suggested at this stage. Still in all, he's been able to draw it open to almost 2.5 seconds. And one of the reasons is, as you watch Joe Huffaker drive, he reminds me a lot of another prod driver, a legendary driver, Steve Sargis, who I once referred to as liquid speed. It's just smooth. He just flows everything through the corners, which means he takes as little as can be out of the tires, out of the brakes, out of the gearbox, all of those components. And I know a phrase you love to use is, your tires have only so much grip in it, and it's how much do you withdraw and when.
That's exactly right, and this track is particularly important there, and nobody has more track time here than Joe Huffaker. He's got his shop there up there on the hill. He gets these cars out here all of the time. We looked at the surface earlier this week, and it's a highly polished surface. You'll start to see it in some of these camera shots, a little bit of sheen on it. And what happens there is if the tire slides across that, you generate heat. And every time you generate a little bit of heat, the tire gets warmer and it loses a little bit of grip. And there's no way of really getting it off. You can cool it down a little bit by backing off, but it never really comes back to temperature. So every time you knock it down a notch, every time you use a little bit, that's a little bit more out of that bank account. That's money that's spent, and you cannot cash a new check on it.
Yeah, absolutely, and he just is such a master at this. You know, we were talking about the fact that Huffaker, this is his 27th start in the Runoffs. Now, he runs multiple classes, so same with Brian Lynn at 19, Craig Kima with 16. There's a guy in this field who's not even touchable compared to other people out there. Yes, he runs 2 classes generally, but Mark Webber, who currently sits in the 12th spot in his Mazda Goodyear Redline Oil and Hawk Mazda Miata, is making his 58th runoff start. Just a remarkable record out of St. Louis, Missouri. And when you get to the racetrack, there's a good look at Mark. When you get to the racetrack, if you can't find him in his paddock, well, he generally is, because swapping engines between the cars, he's out on the track. He is one of sports car racing's top photographers, and that's his other job, and he does a brilliant job of it. And he's out there. He just loves racing his roadsters.
And that's a great example, Greg, of what this club is all about. Sports Car Club of America is amateur road racing. It is a club thing. For some guys, just being here, you have to qualify, you have to run qualifying events, you have to do well in order to just get the invite to come to the runoffs. For some guys, participating in the runoffs is the highlight of the year. Perhaps they move up relative to last year, perhaps not, maybe even a podium, a top 5, something like that. Guys like him, that's what this club is all about.
Oh, and that move, that's the kind of thing you live for, as he ducked down underneath William Hartman. That's for 11th, and Hartman racing Lotus Super 7, but Hartman got a good run back out of the corner, sort of let him go, and then did the over-under. And if he can keep parked around the outside here, that little Lotus should be really good up the hill. Lets it float way out using all the track he can, carries a bit more speed, and he's back in front.
That's right. And that's a great example of how the rules committees maintain parity between these super old cars and the new ones. Both those cars built to slightly different rule sets, well, significantly different rule sets. The Super 7, what we call a full prep, and the Mazda Miata is what's called limited prep, and so it's a lower cost versus the full prep.
And yet they tend to end up and run very, very close together. Hayward, what are you hearing from pit lane?
Guys, Joe Huffaker is trying to set the record for the most wins for a single car in a production class with this race. Were he to do that, he will break the tie he has with Kent Prather, another legend in production car racing. I happened to be sitting with Kent during the opening laps of this race, and on one of the times into the carousel, Huffaker went super tighty all the way around that corner, kept it nice and tight all the way around. Prather looks over at me and says, "You see that line?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "He hasn't shown that all week." And I just kind of smiled at him, and Kent gets this real serious look in his eye and says, "He did that at Laguna too."
Well, and that's part of the game, isn't it? You know, you always carry a little something in your pocket, and the really, really talented drivers, they just know that thing, and that's that track knowledge too. It's, okay, I know this, probably a lot of people don't here. I know I can be quick without it, but if I need it, I've got it to draw on, and I could surprise somebody with him. And sometimes, not that he's needed to do it here, when you're in a close battle and you want to break somebody, as they say, you want to just kind of break them and get away and have them get frustrated, start making mistakes, you unleash that little moment like that. That's just savvy stuff. Look at this, Charlie Campbell now has gone around and made the pass on Lynn and is now running in the 4th spot.
No kidding, and he was looking a little bit wild early on, but he seems to have it under control right now. The concern there was sliding the car around that he was going to overheat those tires, but he's doing a great job with it now. Looks a lot more composed. One note again on Huffaker, I'm looking here at the timing sheets in front of me, and he is now down to 48.4, lowered that track record to 48.4, and that is now within a full second of what he was doing in qualifying, and that is over a second faster than Bradfield.
Yeah, doing a very nice job. Bradfield hanging on in that Volvo to the second spot. He too has a fairly sizable lead back to Kima, but now we'll see whether Campbell can find the speed to reel in Kima and make the battle for that final medal position a real solid one. Lynn will be interested in that as well. They're still running in fairly close company, but up front it is Joe Huffaker who is out in the lead in his number 77 MG Midget in F production.
Coming on exit of turn number 2, and Drew Campbell now off the line.
Welcome back, everybody, and this is getting intense. This is the battle for third in the final medal position. Kima had assumed it right before we went to break when he got around Lynn. Then Campbell was able to come after him just a little bit, but in short order, Campbell, although he is driving that car suddenly like a man possessed, dropping tires left and right, he has reeled in Kima. This is a battle for real for bronze.
No doubt about it. And again, we'll see these two different levels of prep on these cars. We're going to see which each does better. The Lotus Super 7, being as light as it is, definitely handles these blind turns and these twisty bits significantly better. But we got a little bit of a power advantage there, perhaps, for the Miata of Campbell as he crests that blind hill there. Definitely driving a lot cleaner right now is Campbell. He was trying a bit too hard early on, trying to make the car do what it wasn't really ready to do, and now that the tires are up, things are all looking really good for him.
Yeah, he had a couple of moments on that last lap, ran a little wide 10, and I think you're absolutely right. He realized, all right, I can't keep doing this. I'm either going to throw it away or I'm going to damage the tires, so has tidied it right back up again and is just trying to preserve here as we are coming into about the halfway point of this race at the next lap. And the big issue is, okay, we've got to halfway. How are tires? What do we have left to finish this thing with?
That's exactly right, and that was actually my concern for the Volvo of Bradfield up front, that he may start falling back. Another point about Kima is he's a guy here from Ohio, where the other folks up near the front are all from California who get out here more often. So that's an even more impressive drive from Kima, that he can be that smooth and do this well in a track that he just doesn't get to very often.
Absolutely. I mean, he's definitely got talent. Here's that turn here where Campbell let it float a little bit too much last time through. Much more reserved. You can see Kima exiting shallow, thinking that Campbell was going to get a run and trying to defend just a little bit here. And Campbell now trying to square up. Kima kind of floated a little wide. Campbell cutting it down. You worry there when the car, if it pushes into the guy on the outside, and Campbell was able to control it, but whatever margin Kima had is gone.
And watch this drag race up the hill. Right in the middle of turn one, a little bit of bumpy action right there. It looks like the Lotus handling it better, pulls a little farther ahead. And as we crest the hill, it'll definitely be a little bit better for braking, but then we're going to see the Miata charge down the hill and catch up a little bit right here.
And I love it here. You see Kima had very steady hands on the wheel until that it dropped away just a little bit on the exit of 2. Then that's that snap, quick hands to make the correction. You've got to be on top of this track. If you aren't, it will bite you.
I think you're right. Getting reports, a little bit of smoke perhaps coming off the Lotus, maybe off the left rear there. Don't know if that's just from pushing the tire too hard. You never know with these highly strung full prep cars, particularly the little British ones. They like to either burn some oil or perhaps have little issues, other little issues like that, mechanical.
Well, I saw a little smoke going up through turn one, but it was right in that compression. And my first thought was, all right, he's just bottomed out a little bit. You just tap the bottom. Oh, nope. Well, there's the indication.
And
he
there it
sensed
is.
the problem.
There it is.
It was far more serious than we thought. He has pulled off, or is trying to at this stage. There goes Lynn. So Campbell will be through into third, Lynn into fourth. And what a shame, as Kima was having a very solid run, certainly in medal contention.
Yeah, that was a great
Yeah.
run. That was a great run from Keeman. And a very gentlemanly thing to do there. Basically, he knew his day was done, got his hand up to let folks know the car was dead, got out of the way, did not want to ruin anybody else's race. He's going to pull off into a safe area so they don't have to do any sort of yellow flag. That's what you do here in the Sports Car Club of America.
And the other part of it is that Lotus Super 7, that's a relic. It's a very, very historic car, and so he sensed anything. I'm sure he said, "I'm not going to, blow this motor up," and was right on top of it. We're watching Charlie Campbell here now, who will assume the third spot in his Mazda Miata, and we've been talking a lot about various things you can do in terms of if you want to go and be a part of motorsports and compete. Sure, you can go road racing, and one of the best ways to go is in a Mazda. We've seen Mazda Miata. You can run one anywhere. Well, last year, Eric Prill took a Mazda Miata to the gold medal in F production. Wanted to take a year off from that kind of a schedule, but said, I still want to do a little bit of competing. And as it turns out, Eric found out that an F-Prod Mazda works real well in solo.
I started out with an SCCA family. My dad raced, and so I grew up at the racetrack. When I first started racing, I wasn't very good, but I really worked on it, and I've surrounded myself with a lot of good friends that gave me a lot of really good advice. It culminated with a dream week in 2017 in Indianapolis, and I was able to win the national championship at the Runoffs. I've been really close to winning the Runoffs for several years, had some heartbreak, and finally got the deal done. I've also been trying a little bit of autocross over the last 10 or so years, and this year I had the opportunity to bring my own car, and it's the car that I actually won the Runoffs with in 2017. It's still, I struggle when I'm autocrossing. It doesn't come naturally, but one of the neat things about solo and really SCCA in general is it's a community of racers. Everybody is friendly with each other. If we ever are stuck, like can't figure out how to do a corner a certain way, you can always talk to different people. You come for the cars, you stay for the people. People say that about SCCA all the time, and it's really true here at Solo Nationals.
You come for the cars, you stay for the people, because in the end, it's all about fun with cars. And all the people of SCCA, that's the passion that you share. You've got this big family, almost of 50,000 strong.
You sure do. I mean, you look through the paddock there and you see the campers. Folks are there at night. They break out the grills. They're cooking burgers. They're sharing their war stories from the day, how things went. They're helping each other fix their cars. We've seen cars completely rebuilt this week with the help of others after an unfortunate incident. It's a great family thing. And whether your family is young, older, it doesn't really matter, because we're all having fun with cars. Fun with cars is not age dependent.
Oh, yeah, that's the best part about it, is any age can do it. And the thing is, let's remind everybody, you don't have to be behind the wheel to be part of an SCCA program, and in fact to be part of a race, really, because we need people to start things off in registration. If you're a gearhead, Tech is a perfect place for you. Ironically, we used to say that if you're a computer geek, that the place for you would be timing and scoring. Nowadays, Tech, because there's so much going on there. And then my personal favorite, and this is where you can actually be part of the race, is you get out on a corner with a flag And when you throw that blue flag and you watch somebody as a result of that make a nice clean pass with no contact, you've been a part of that event.
That's exactly right. And Sonoma is a great track as an example for that. So many blind turns here, and the only way that you as a driver know that perhaps there might be something lurking, some danger lurking over the next rise is a flag, either a clear flag or a yellow flag or a blue flag. Maybe there's a car that you're about to catch a back marker, or maybe there's a car spun out in front of you. You don't know these things unless the flagger gives you that communication. They are our angels as drivers, and we thank them so much for what they do for us.
Yep, no question about it. You mentioned lurking. I think right now in the mirrors of the number 13 of Innes Isley is lurking. The 08 of Bill Hingston battles everywhere on the track here in F production. Innes Isley continues to hang on to the 5th spot in his number 13 Leadfoot Motorsports BMW 318 IS, but he has serious company. Bill Hingston in the 08 entry behind him. Here's what happened right before we came back from break into turn number 7.
Yeah, it looks like the Miata just locked up the front brakes there, tagged the BMW right in the back, and both drivers continuing, but the gap now much, much larger than it was prior to that. Wasted opportunity.
Yeah, a little bit of white paint now on the nose of that yellow Mazda. And that to me looked like the old long brake pedal chrome horn. That certainly wasn't intentional.
Oh, no doubt about it. I'm sure that, again, we're late in the race here, only 6 laps to go. This is the longest these drivers have run all week. A lot of these guys don't run races quite this long, and you're really using the brakes in certain turns in this track, and so I'm sure he just lost some brakes there. Not so much the chrome horn as maybe the ABS plastic horn.
There you go. I like that. I like that. And by the way, Hingston was the champion this year in the Mid-States Conference, so he's had a pretty good season. And for Innes himself, he was 5th in 2009 in T3 at Road America's, his best runoffs finish. He was 3rd in the Western Conference this year, and so they both have had very good conference seasons at this stage. And so you want at the runoffs to really put it together here. And speaking of putting it together, that's something this guy does. 5 laps to go now for that number 77 Huffaker Engineering Midget in the hands of Petaluma's Joe Huffaker. And he has been absolutely spot on thus far, as he has put a lap on the number 5 of Bill Okel out of Victoria, British Columbia. And with the issues he's had, you talked about, he's had this bad run of luck since he won his last gold medal in Monterey in 2014. That little issue earlier this week in this car, but he knows if he gets one more win, he's got that particular car will be the most winningest chassis, and he'd love to get it at home. Family's here, so at that point now, what's he hearing inside that car? Everything that could possibly make any noise, I'm sure it sounds like an alarm bell.
Well, for sure, but Joe's been doing this a really long time, and the thing about it is, when you're doing the work on the car yourself, and you do as much work on it as those guys do, you're not hearing those funny noises because you touched the wrench, you knew what was going on there, and especially when they just went over the car again after that incident with the axle. I got to think that, yeah, he had some bad luck this week, but he got it out of the way in the GTL race, and now here he is in the race he really cares about the most. Oh, whoa, and going wide.
Just happened. Last lap, a huge save. Wow, what a save after Hingston had finally got around on Innes.
Yeah, look at that, the BMW carving through the middle there. Oh, but they got the drag race coming up to turn 12 here.
And look at that, and Hingston able to hang on to it, or excuse me, yeah, able to hang on to it. So a nice job there, even with that big moment. And again, this is the battle now for 5th. Lynn in the Super 7, the number 37, still sits in 4th. Campbell sits in 3rd, last of the medal positions. Look at these guys into turn 7, just going so wide over there, and I think we're just seeing long pedals right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think every time he goes to the pedal, he's just not sure what he's going to get there. No more disconcerting feeling than to go for the brakes and have them not be there, and then the next time you brake early and you have them. That's just that makes for a really frustrating day behind the wheel.
Well, he's certainly shown some speed, so now we'll see if he's able to once again run down that black and white BMW of Isley. They've got room. They're well clear right now, the 88 of Jensen, so that's not a real concern for them. Paul Jensen and the Hoosier Race to Win Mazda.
Yeah, and I've got to believe that Hingston's just going to kind of keep trying to send it here, because you think about it, this is the runoffs. This is the big deal.
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, they're clear of the next place, so they may as well have their battle. Keep going for it. Keep digging for it. And hope the guy in front of you makes a bigger mistake than you do.
And if this charge will continue, again, this is the battle for 5th, but the medal position still occupied by Huffaker in the midget, Bradfield in the Volvo, and Campbell in the Mazda.
And that is considerably off his qualified pace. 4 seconds off a lap off of his qualifying time, and he continues.
Joe Huffaker, what a beautiful sight. Certainly for Joe, being this is home. He lives in nearby Petaluma. Seeing that beautiful 77 black Huffaker Engineering midget cresting and rolling through the hillside here in Sonoma. And he's got himself a big lead. We have another great battle, though. Boy, talk about cut and thrust. These guys in the last, 5 laps have probably changed positions that many times.
Exactly. It looks like the Miata having a few trouble. Hingston there with the brakes, very inconsistent brakes. But when he's got the good brakes, he can always get by. But then again, that thing rears its ugly head again, and then the Isley ends up getting by. So back and forth here. He's clearly got the quicker car, at least at this point in the race. But the question is, will it hang in there for him?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I really, obviously, the 08, the Mazda's got a little bit more pace in it right now, but when you've got bad brakes, that's a confidence sapper for the driver.
It totally is. You go for the pedal, there's nothing there, or you go for the pedal, there's a whole bunch there. You just don't know. And this is the kind of track, there's not a whole lot of runoff. You end up out there in that dirt. Your tires get dirty, and then it takes 2 or 3 turns to recover. It's not a good thing, but again, this is the runoffs. You got to be going for it every single lap here.
You absolutely do, and you make a good point about the runoff. You've got a little bit, I mean, it looks like, okay, there's nothing to hit for a while, it's just hillside, but those hills are steep, and these low-slung race cars, you go off and suddenly you hit one of those hills, that front end will dig in, and it can still do some pretty significant damage.
No doubt, and we've seen a couple of cars actually get high-centered out there. There's some ruts and things. The curbs, these are kind of curbs that you don't typically use like you do at some racetracks. They're fairly rough. Some of the big bore cars will use them, but most of these smaller cars, they try to stay off the curbs as much as possible because they tend to upset the cars.
These guys have put on an absolutely fabulous race for us, though, and this is the thing that we've talked about. Oh, boy. That's Mark Webber and the number 40. They've been having a great battle. Bill Hartman and Mark Webber, they've been going through it and around it, and speaking of around it, there goes Hingston with Isley ducking down to the inside. But, yeah, those two guys have been having a great little scrap, and it eventually ended, obviously, in some sort of contact here. As you can see, the big wrinkle on the left side of Weber's Miata as he drove off. And right now, Hartman is just dead stick, and that's right in the middle of turn number 11.
Yeah, it's looking like we may end up with at least a local yellow there. Here comes the incident, and there's Lynn coming down there. Here's our incident in the foreground. Oh yeah, Miata just getting a little bit wide there into Hartman in the Super 7.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked down to the inside, and then it almost looks like he may have just pushed a little wide, and they just touched. And of course, you've got that open, basically that open fender as the white flag comes out for Joe Huffaker. 1 lap to go.
And as we watch Joe, this car has been picture perfect all day long. He is still turning laps that are 2 seconds faster than most of the other drivers in the field, in the 49s now. He made that tire choice because he knew it would be more robust throughout the entire duration. He hasn't slid this car around hardly at all. He's keeping the temperatures right in that perfect operating range. He knows this track like the back of his hand. He had a plan to make this win happen. He's got the right equipment. He's got the right mindset. He's got the right experience. And nobody's going to beat that guy today.
No, he's got it dialed. Meanwhile, this battle continues to rage. They went through that incident in turn 11 and just split those 2 cars. This is some fierce stuff, and they are having the time of their lives. And they get 1 more lap here because they were that far back behind Joe, but not so much that Joe would get around him here. So they get to do this for 1 more lap and settle this 5th place battle here. Bradfield still a comfortable margin in the Volvo in 2nd, and Campbell in the white and black Mazda Miata pretty solidly in 3rd as well. So this battle will now start its final lap here at the Runoffs at Sonoma Raceway. And these guys have put on a great show. And while they're putting on a show, I think it's safe to say that Joe's putting on a clinic.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's got the, like I said, he's got the car, he's got it prepared right, but more importantly, he's driving the wheels off of this thing right on the money, picture perfect. This is a clinic on how to win F production right here.
Yeah, and look at that. He's excited about it here from his 14th pole, by the way. We didn't mention that kind of numbers that he's dealing with here. This will be his 10th gold medal. As you said, tied him for 4th now, it will, with David Daugherty. That's an achievement. And Huffaker brings it through. Look at the fist pump. He is absolutely elated. And I think probably because it now is what a story for that chassis. That car itself will go down in history at this stage as the winningest production car ever. That's pretty special, and he's going to enjoy this lap. And look at that. There's Joe Sr., and his mom Jean is up in there as well. He's just, I bet there's tears underneath that cap right now.
No doubt about it. As a parent, you've got to be super proud of that effort to watch your progeny follow in your footsteps, come to the highest ranks like that, and set that kind of a record. What a feeling that's got to be for him, what it's got to be feeling for his son. Great stuff here, and that's what SCCA is about. Oh, look at that.
That looks like a cut tire.
It sure does, but he's going to get through.
He's trying to limp it around. He does not want to have gone and survived the battle he did and not bring it home for a finish. There, you just see the flash. That's the 08 of Hingston, who will be able to get that 5th place finish. Apparently there was a little bit of a touch between those two, Hingston, and you just hope here that Isley's able to bring this around and bring it home to be able. I don't know if that it's a cut tire, actually. It looks like it's just body work on that tire. Here comes Hingston. He will have 5th. And here comes Isley limping it around. Come on, you can do it. You need to finish this one. Innes Isley does and survives that contact and brings it home in the 6th spot. And here's a look at what happened.
Yeah, here we go. We've got Isley trying to make a move on the, oh, talk about losing brakes. In the past, it was always Hingston who was having trouble with the brakes, but this time it was Isley's turn. He just lost it, locked him up, came into the side of Hingston. And so even though he suffered the damage, he was in a lot of ways, it was kind of his fault that happened. Not so much from a driving standpoint, but certainly from the car and the brakes going away.
Well, I think Hingston had been so careful on the brakes going in. It opened up the opportunity, and it just went a little wrong. We'll be back to visit with our winners in just a minute.
All right, so here, let's do a quick rundown. Joe Huffaker is your F production champion. Bob Bradford comes in 2nd, Charlie Campbell 3rd, Ryan Lynn 4th, Bill Hingston in 5th. Innes Isley holds on to 6th place. Paul Jensen
Huffaker started waving on the second to the last lap, but when he got the checkered flag, we were just joking about it here off mic that I don't think he quit clapping. You didn't think he quit clapping for that entire cool-down lap. What a day for Joe Huffaker and the Huffaker family. And this is going to be a fun interview. So much here that has unfolded for this man today. And the family up there in the suites, they have witnessed a very special moment indeed. And I'm sure they are as joyous as it can get. Everybody up there right now just waiting to hear, as are we. The medal goes around the neck, the hat goes on, and that means Hayward is ready.
Joe, number 10, this one's special. What does it mean?
It means everything. You know, number 10 is at home. Families around here. My mom and dad are right up there. Mom and dad, was that good or what? And now it's the winningest production car in the history of the Runoffs, and that's what I wanted this baby to give me, so she did.
So are you going to bronze it and hang it upside down on the roof of the garage?
That's too fast now. I got to keep going. VIR sounds great.
Joe, a huge congratulations to you. Enjoy this victory lap.
All right, will do. Thank you very much. Yep.
Boy, he's done a bunch of them. This one, such a special moment here. And you take a look at the rest of the field. I'm pretty impressed. I mean, he showed decent speed in qualifying, but for Bob Bradfield in that Volvo to stay in second and be that quick early in the race and then still maintain solid pace, that was an impressive run.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was actually running during the race at under his qualifying time. So either he found a little something there in the off day, or he just kind of got his head back together. But what a great drive there. I was a little concerned his tires would go off, and they did a little bit. He ran a little slower later in the race, but stayed in front of the rest of the pack there for that bronze medal. Great drive there.
Yep, and Charlie Campbell, a good run for the Hoosier Super Tour points champ up into third. And again, the 37 of Brian Lynn faded a little bit. His times at the end were about 5 seconds off where he had been running, so you have to think maybe something wasn't quite right as we watched there the number 40 of Bill Hartman, who'd been in that great battle with Mark Webber, getting removed. And here we go. Look at that car as they are headed back out, and it is absolutely jammed with Huffakers.
And you notice the way that flag is held onto the roll bar very nicely. Joe with the Infinite Prep has got a special receptacle for checkered flags on his roll bar. I kid you not.
Well, you've done that a few times. I suppose you kind of figure it out. And he's enjoying this one, Hayward, but you've got a couple of other guys who put together a great run as well.
Charlie, a second place here at the Runoffs. I don't think you saw this one coming, did you?
I did not. We have struggled so hard since we've unloaded both cars this week. And the earlier race in the SM didn't go well at all. So this is, I'll take this one. You know what? I worked hard for it. I expected the Lotuses to be tough, and they were at the beginning, but one of them broke, and I was able to get Brian on, and I don't know. He acted like his tires were kind of going away from him. He pushed so hard. So, you know what? This is a great track. This is fun. I've been to a lot of tracks, and this one's absolutely fun. Funny thing is, I finally figured out 2 turns about 3/4 of the way through this race. I'd like to start over again.
So Charlie's ready to go again, guys.
He is. You can hear the emotion in his voice, and the reason is this is his first medal. This is his first podium in the Runoffs, and that one is always, regardless of where you finish, that is always something that is incredibly special.
Well, and especially when you come back from an adverse kind of week like he's had, and to finish on that kind of a high, that's why he wants to go again. As he said, highly technical track. People not figuring it out until much later, and he's not from around these parts. They're from the East Coast in Pennsylvania, so no wonder he was not able to figure it out until the very end. And just imagine where he would finish next time. But guess what? Where are we going next year? In his neck of the woods, a place where I'm sure he's got plenty of laps.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a lot of fun. This one sure was, even though Joe Huffaker ended up with a big margin. There was so much going on from this first corner incident throughout this entire race. Some great battling for a number of the classes, and in the end, I'll tell you, a huge save right there by Hingston. F Production always produces surprises and excitement.
Yeah, it sure does. What a great race all throughout the field. Huffaker, perfect run at the front. And what I love here is the full prep car. Oh, full prep car competing head-to-head with the more high-strung cars. Gotta love that. The rules makers have got it right. and Joe Huckavaker taking the checker.
Yep, getting the mix to perfection, and again, special time in front of family. F Production is in the books. Again, next year we go to Virginia International Raceway, another legendary road racing circuit back in the Southeast. That one's going to be special. That wraps up our coverage of F Production here from Sonoma Raceway. For Randy Hollis and for Hayward Wagner and all of our CBS Sports Network crew, I'm Greg Creamer. In association with the Sports Car Club of America, this has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, your 24-hour home of CBS Sports.